You have another primetime matchup. That's the Detroit Lions in Week 6 at Arrowhead. Believe that's Sunday Night Football as well.
That's what I'm looking at.
And then I'm not 100% sure on this one. I've been trying to go back and find some of the reports, but do you have the Raiders Week 7 at home?
I have Raiders Week 7 at home against KC. Yeah.
Okay, so that's Week 7. Week 8, another primetime matchup. That'll be at home against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. And then Week 9, shocker, a 3:25 kickoff at Orchard Park against the Buffalo Bills. Then you have the bye week in Week 10.
Let's take a pause. You know why?
There we go, yeah.
You know why?
Go through the halfway point.
Finally, it's a bye. It's not the week, was it 6 last year? Week 6
It
bye?
was. Way too early.
So we have the Week 10 bye.
I truthfully am blown away by how many primetime games there are in those first 9 weeks. I mean, we know that Kansas City is going to draw the ratings. It's been that way now for a handful of years. But look at some of the stations they're all going to be on as well. They'll be on YouTube for that game in Brazil. They'll be on Fox against Philadelphia, NBC, ESPN, NBC, CBS, ESPN.
Per Warren Sharp, the Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to receive 5 primetime games in the first 8 weeks of the season as well.
The schedule looks extremely front-loaded from what we have seen so far. What we have seen so far is it really gets lighter as the season progresses. Again, we'll have the official ones come out shortly, but we do know, obviously, some of the big ones. Sao Paulo, obviously, Chargers. That is not a home game for KC. That is LA's home game. That is some sort of positive in that regard. Let's talk about that first and foremost.
Let's dive into that one.
As we get some more, insight flowing through. I thoroughly dislike international games. I understand the thought process behind the monetary value of trying to expand your brand. The NFL has already tried to take over every other sport, including now the NBA with Christmas, which we'll get to in a moment because, spoiler, the Chiefs and Christmas yet again. But not just now London and not just Germany now, but now they're going to Brazil. And we saw what happened and transpired last year with the field and the issues that were there when that was the Packers as well as the Eagles. But it wasn't just the field issues. It was some of the off the field where the players felt at times unsafe, how they had to have, some bodyguards. There were some reports that were not as flattering. I mean, what this comes down to is the players seemingly, for the most part, dislike overseas games. Yet they keep doing more and more of these. The Vikings have the biggest gripe as they'll have back-to-back games, one in Ireland, one in the UK, one in London. Yet they're continuously pushing this. And I understand that was a thought process with the 17th game. There was going to be a little bit of give and take. Players, you get more money. There's another game check. You're playing one more game, and that game more than likely is going to be a international or a you might have to give up a home game. And this is what we are seeing, but just in my personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of these international games, especially once you start getting farther and farther away. Travel days get mixed up. You don't have the same schedule, and if you want to say product is king, product is the main focal point, you can't truthfully say that with a straight face when a lot of these games that have been overseas, you've had some major issues.
There's been a lot of issues with it, and my main concern has been about the health of the players on the field. You haven't had the best of circumstances. You haven't had the best conditions for some of those games. And as you brought up, it was Green Bay and Philadelphia last year, and Jordan Love got hurt in that game. And that's the last thing you want to have in week 1 of the NFL season. But what is the NFL king at? It's marketing. It's generating a lot of ratings. It's bringing in a lot of money. And this is going to continue to do that. People that maybe don't follow the NFL as closely may tune in to a game that's in Brazil, or will tune into a game that's in Ireland or in Germany or in London. And I'm not going to be surprised if it continues to expand. The players don't like it because it throws you off. You get jet lag. You're in an entirely different country. They're not going to like the way maybe the stadium is set up or the field conditions are. And that would be my main concern as a coach, a player, and certainly my concern as a spectator watching that game, because the last thing you need is someone going down in week 1. So when I saw that this was going to be the opener for Kansas City, again, we've seen some phenomenal openers. Last year it was Baltimore. They had the opener against Detroit at home. That was another great one. This, on paper, is a fantastic matchup. I'm a little bit disappointed, though, Sterling. I'm with you there that I'm not too high on it that it's out of the country. I wouldn't have mind seeing this in L.A., even though it would be a home game for the Chargers. Chiefs fans travel well, and I would imagine they'd travel well to Brazil as well. But for me, there's a lot of risk that comes with it. And I'm also just not too big on the atmosphere. Ireland, I love the idea. We saw with college football how great that was, the atmosphere, the energy. It was phenomenal. I'm not sure every single one of these spots is truly great for the NFL, but they do make money off of it.
Yeah, I would love to see the breakdown. I've said perpetually, talked about it earlier today once we found this was going to be the scenario of KC going to Brazil, and I just want to know, what is the monetary breakdown of these overseas games? Everyone keeps saying, well, they grow the game and they're clearly making money because the salary cap's going up. But that could be going up for a multitude of reasons. I understand Netflix and Prime and all these different corporations are now buying specific games, some of these one-offs. Understandable. I get it. But does it have to be overseas for this to be the case? That's all I'm asking. I would love to see a monetary breakdown. I'm sure Raj is going to get right on that, send me his Excel spreadsheet, and all the financiers of the NFL will get right on that email towards me. But that's just where I'm at. I would love to know the breakdown because I just keep hearing well, clearly it's bringing money in. Sure. But how much is
it worth it?
Worth it. That is what it comes down to me. And by the way, this is not me trying to hate on Brazil. It's not at all. It has nothing to do with the country. If it was in Chile, if this was in Denmark, if this was... What it comes down to is Brazil had one opportunity. It didn't go well. They had an opportunity. So they get a second chance? Like I understand, like Mexico City, for example. Happened once. It was so bad that they had to move the game. Remember, they had to move it to, was it L.A.?
Yes, it was.
So,
was it the Shakira concert?
Was the Shakira concert. So, at some point, I'm just sitting here going, you had a chance. You knew it was a big deal. You blew it. I'm sorry. Is that unfair? We'll try again in 5 years. But back-to-back years, are we sure that they figured out the issues that arose from the first time around? Now and again, you're probably right. It's the risk involved. I'm a Chiefs guy through and through. So what I'm sitting here going is, I don't want to see injuries. And we all know if there's an injury in week 1, what are we going to blame?
Blaming the field.
You're going to blame the field. You're going to blame they're playing in another country. Your preparation couldn't be the exact same as it was if you're down here in Kansas City or in another NFL facility. There's going to be a lot of blame game. Now, could it happen anywhere? Of course. We saw injuries happen and take place when they played Arizona in Arizona originally. Harrison Butker's the first one that comes to mind. Obviously, Trent McDuffie as well. I get that. But at least at that situation, you go, well, it's the NFL. They had all these precautions in place, all these situations. You go to Brazil, you go to another country. I just think it's a lot different. Until I see the spreadsheet of the money, I have a hard time, in my opinion, believing the juice is worth the squeeze.
I also, too, I'm not a huge fan of neutral site games. I mean, you get them in the Super Bowl. That goes without saying. For me, though, when I tune into an NFL game, whether it be the Chiefs or not, I like to see the atmosphere. And sometimes you don't get a great one. If you play, for example, the Panthers last year in the first couple weeks of the season, you were not getting a great NFL atmosphere. But what makes the league so fantastic is its fans. You have the fanatics out there. You've got the tailgating. You've got the atmosphere. You've got believers in week 1. You've got more of the negative fans, too, that will still show up. That's what makes this league great. And when you go to a neutral site field, you may not be getting the rowdy bunch, right? It costs a lot of money to go to Brazil. So
I think Brazil is going to be a pretty rowdy bunch. If you've seen concerts down in Brazil, it's going to get rowdy.
It'll be rowdy, but to me, I always love the home and away.
Yeah.
I love the home team having the home field advantage, unless it would have been at SoFi Stadium because we've seen Chiefs fans travel so well there. But that's always been my shtick with it. It's not so much about where the game's being played. It's the fact that it's a neutral site game.
Yeah.
In the postseason, I love watching the championship games, the AFC and the NFC championship games. That is the best crowd you will see. And in the Super Bowl, as great as it is, then there's a lot of media there. There's a lot of flashing lights, you know?
I'm not worried about Brazil's in-stadium crowd by any means because I think they'll show out. They'll have a blast. And again, I'm not worried about that aspect of it. I'm more worried about the field, the travel, the players. I always go back to a quote from Zach Greinke, one of my favorite quotes of all time, when asked about playing in Australia. Zach Greinke, when he was with the Dodgers, says, quote, "I would say there's absolutely zero excitement for it. There just isn't any excitement. I can't think of one reason to be excited for it," end quote. Then the Dodgers had to pull back and give a whole bunch of coach speak about how, well, that's just him. The entire team and all the players, we're all
so
excited.
Stoked.
But the point I'm making here is Zach Greinke, I think, is just honest. We know that about Zach. I think the majority of players feel the same way when they play overseas because it's not a vacation for them. It's not like you get to go to London and you're exploring. No, you're trying to get ready for a game. You're going to Brazil to get ready for a game. You're not going there to experience the cuisine. You're going there to try and prepare.
You're in the hotel.
To beat. Yes, you're in a hotel.
You're in a hotel
you're
the
there
whole time.
to try and beat the LA Chargers. Again, I will reiterate. I do like that it's the Chargers home game and not the Chiefs home game.
Yeah.
All right, let's go down a few more. Let's get into the holiday aspect of things.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with Christmas because the Chiefs have requested that they want to be the new team that plays on Christmas, right? This has been something that they want to do. The NFL basically said, no, we can't promise that. And yet here they are 3 years in a row now, right?
Yep.
The Raiders 2 years ago. Last
Steelers.
year they played, and then obviously this year, this upcoming season, I should say. And they are playing
Denver.
the Broncos. Week 17. I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs, first off, wanting to play on Christmas, but now 3 straight years on Christmas?
Well, and I know we're going to get into Thanksgiving. The Cowboys have had Thanksgiving for years. It's just something you have memorized as a football fan, that when I tune in to football on Thanksgiving, I'm getting the Lions and I'm getting the Cowboys. Now, they're playing different teams, but you get that. It's just this nostalgic feel to it. And for Christmas, that's what the Chiefs are trying to do. When you wake up on Christmas morning and you're opening presents, you can always be excited about the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing a football game on that day. Now, against the Raiders, it was at 12. Against the Steelers, it was at 12. You still had 2 more games after that. But now you get Kansas City as the nightcap at Arrowhead, a heated rivalry game against the Denver Broncos. And in my opinion, that is a phenomenal matchup, whereas the previous 2, like Pittsburgh was fine. I love seeing the Chiefs play in Heinz Field. They wore the all-whites in that game. Pittsburgh was still in the hunt at that point, and it was a blowout. It was an absolute blowout, and I would say that the majority of NFL fans weren't really happy with the result of that game. The Raiders game, it was a rivalry, but the Raiders didn't even make the playoffs that year. They did beat Kansas City. It was an ugly game. Chiefs fans want to forget about it, but that was a Raiders team that just wasn't that good when it was all said and done. Denver's a good team. Denver's a fun team. They are well coached. Last time they were at Arrowhead, it was the blocked field goal. This is a few weeks before the postseason. Maybe Denver and Kansas City are battling it out for the AFC West crown. On paper, I love this matchup, and I love the hype of Christmas Day, and I don't mind the Chiefs trying to become the Christmas Day team. Who I feel bad for are those that have to cover the event, and that's unfortunate. I feel bad for the players and the coaches that, yet again, they can't be with their families on Christmas, but the NFL is going to continue to have games on Christmas.
I don't feel as bad for the players because they're making a bleep ton of money. Okay,
They're celebrating Christmas just fine.
Full transparency, I feel
They're not down at the mill. You know?
Yeah. I know that might sound a little. Maybe I'm a little Scrooge right here. I don't feel that bad for the players to play on Christmas. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't. Maybe their families a little bit.
Yeah,
their kids, sure. Players themselves, sorry, you're making that much money. Again, maybe I'm cold-hearted, but there is a price. See, everything has a price.
There is.
And to me, if you're making that much money, that's the price. I feel bad, not necessarily for the media, because no one feels bad for us. Sorry, Lebo, I love you. Sorry, Mick Schaefer. I love Matt Derrick, love you guys. I feel for you a little bit, but it's not necessarily you that I even feel that bad for. It's the concession workers. It's the people who are parking attendants. Those are even the chain gang. Like those are the people that I feel bad for. How much are they getting extra money? Is it time and a half?
I hope so.
Is it 2? Is it your normal paycheck? Is it just, hey, Sorry, that sucks, but you
cold.
you signed up for it.
Yeah.
Those are the people I feel bad for. Anytime I hear Christmas, I think, yeah, I don't feel bad for the players. I don't even really feel bad for the media. What it comes down to is I feel bad for the parking attendants, the concession workers, the chain gang, all the assistants on the team that were not making anything near what these players are making. And again, does that make me sound cold-hearted for the players? Not sure, fine, but there's a price. There is a price, and that's where I draw the line. It was fun the first time the Chiefs played on Christmas. It was fun. Not the game itself. I'll get into the game itself in a moment, but them playing on Christmas once every 5 years, 7 years, once a decade. Pretty cool. It's fun. Once every 5-7 years, you're like, this is fun. Let's get the kids. Let's go to a game. That's one Christmas, not every single year, but one every once in a while. That's kind of cool. Kind of fun. You play on Christmas. Nice. That's a present to the kids. We'll wake up early. We'll go to a game. Awesome. But then it doesn't become as fun when it's every single year. It's not Thanksgiving, and maybe it will be. Maybe we'll look back in 2 decades and say, why did we ever complain about the Chiefs playing on Christmas? What a great holiday. What a great tradition. What a great tradition this is. But at least right now, in the moment, I dislike it.
Not a fan, huh?
I like it once in a while. Once in a while on Christmas is fun, it's fine, it's cool. Every single year, to me, the tradition, it does not outweigh the reward factor. Plus, it also has the thought process of, we all remember the Raiders game. We all remember what happened. Did that ruin Christmas for some people?
Had to have.
I think it did. And again, I know myself personally. I'm probably different than some. I can take myself out of that and put that in a bucket. I will worry about what happened during that game, and I will be feeling my anger and my how upset I am later on. But right now I'm hanging with family, with eating food, all that stuff. So I was able to put that in a different bucket and go back to that later on. I don't know if a lot of people can do that. I think that did not feel like a fun Christmas for a lot of people and probably put a wet blanket over what was supposed to be such a glorious day.
Yeah, but I also feel that if you are trying to become the most watched brand in the NFL, it's kind of how you do it, right? And even if the Chiefs, let's say 5 years down the road have taken a few steps back, you're still going to recognize them as one of the biggest brands in the NFL as long as Patrick Mahomes is there. And that's just the reality with the NFL. There are going to be games played on Christmas, and the NFL is going to try to get the Chiefs every single year because they know they're going to get a ton of ratings from it. Also, with this, this is the first time we're getting the nightcap. I know you're a football guru and a football junkie. Dylan, same thing for you. I would consider myself the same, that on Christmas morning, I don't know. I love the fact of waking up and being like, oh, you can enjoy time with family. And then at 12 o'clock, we got football. It's the same thing with Thanksgiving. I'm like, I love mingling with family, having a good meal, and then I want to watch football. And it's even better when your team's going to play on that day. Maybe that's the selfish person in me because I'm amped for this game. I want to see Denver and Kansas City that night. Hell, I'd love to go to that game. Celebrate Christmas, enjoy time with the family, and then go with whoever you want to the game that night.
That's the NBA's day, Christmas.
It is. It is.
I know a lot of people don't care about the NBA.
The NFL doesn't care.
Because they played on a Wednesday. I don't think there's a Christmas on a Sunday for another 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't have to worry about if all the teams play. I don't remember that. I don't remember if Dylan, you might have a better knowledge of this because you are the old school man back there. When Christmas falls on a Sunday, does every team play? Or is it always a one-off, or was it a day off? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
My mind has gone blank in that regard.
I have a vague memory of they did. I know on Christmas Eve.
The last time was in 2022, which wasn't that the Raiders Chiefs?
No. Was that the last time Christmas was
on a Sunday?
Was on a Sunday,
and there was only a couple games,
and that was like a one-off.
So that everybody play on the wasn't it like Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
That's
Sunday?
What it must have been.
Yeah.
So okay, so we're not crazy.
No, there was a couple of games.
I guess it's not mutually exclusive, but we're not crazy in this regard.
No, we're not. I totally see the side though too of people being turned off by the idea of it. Let's be honest, though. We're all going to watch it. We're all
100%.
No matter if you're with family or not, if you are at an event that you can't be in front of a TV, you're watching it on your phone.
So I remember this now. It was, hang on one second. There was Broncos-Rams because it was the Russell Wilson
Yes.
Nickelodeon.
Yep.
And then there was one other game, and I can't confirm, but there was only 3 games that day.
Okay, so it
And
was 3
in
games.
each time slot, 12, 3, and
So it wasn't just in 8 years we get back to that.
Yep.
That was my question, my concern, dude. Let's get into Thanksgiving, and then we'll take a break and go through more of the schedule. But Thanksgiving's the other, I think, real big one. Chiefs at Cowboys. The Chiefs have not played on Thanksgiving, I believe, since 2006. So that's been nearly 20 years since the Chiefs have last played on Thanksgiving. And the Chiefs have not played against the Cowboys since November of 2021, when the Chiefs won 19-9. Dallas's offense ranked first in the NFL heading into that game. Thanksgiving. Finally, America's team can play. Finally!
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. I believe this is such a good draw for the Chiefs. Again, we can talk about the holiday aspect of this and circle all back around again. On paper, watching this will be one of the highest rated games of the entire season.
Yes.
And it might shatter some records, let's be honest here. Thanksgiving, Dallas, whether Dallas is in it or not, you have the Chiefs and the Cowboys. You have the old school brand, old school America's team, and then the Chiefs, who a lot of Chiefs fans and a lot of NFL fans would say they are America's team, or at least the most villainized team in America.
Yeah.
So you have that too, in the same way it was for the Cowboys. And they clash in Dallas, a place Patrick Mahomes hasn't played before. Like in Dallas has always had Thanksgiving. It's always sold out. It'll be a whiteout. It'll be loud. A lot of Chiefs fans there. That is a phenomenal matchup, and I can't wait for that one. Considering that Mahomes has played Dallas once,
Yeah.
and now he gets to go back to Texas and play the Cowboys. I hope the Cowboys are in it. I hope it's not a 4. What week is that? Week 13 something.
Week 13.
I hope it's not a 4 or 5 win Dallas team. I hope it's the Dallas team that's going toe to toe with somebody for a wild card spot, and they have to have it. And the Chiefs are doing what the Chiefs usually do. That is going to be a record-shattering ratings day for the NFL.
It is going to be awesome. And I guess maybe I'm waffling here, but I've never had a qualm with Thanksgiving versus Christmas. I find those two vastly different. Is that the tradition aspect of it? And in 20 years, again, if the Chiefs have continuously played on Christmas, will I feel different? Or at least the same way I feel about Thanksgiving? That's possible. I reserve the right to change my opinion, but that's how I feel right now. No, I love this. And it almost feels like a passing of the torch in regards to America's team. Now, I get it. I'm not saying I want the Chiefs to always play on Thanksgiving, because I do somewhat like the tradition of the Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving. It's fun. It's something you've always looked forward to. But it does feel like when Brady played Mahomes, or it does feel a little like the passing of the torch of the moniker America's team. And by the way, is this about the first time folks are actually going to root against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving?
No. There's no way.
Root
for the Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
No, I knew what you were getting at here.
Root for the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
No chance. Unless you're an Eagles fan. Like, you are absolutely rooting against Kansas City.
Yeah, that's my point.
I would say the Chiefs have reached a different level going into this year that I'm not even sure the Patriots reached in terms of pure hatred. It's different, though, too, because when New England was in their pure prime of dominance, which did last a long time, but they went a decade between Super Bowls, they weren't as hated because social media wasn't as big of a deal. And they didn't have star players dating star celebrities. Like, it's another part to this. So, yes, even a team like Dallas, who I would say, the rest of the NFL, they'll make jokes about, they'll point the finger and say, oh, America's team, but hasn't won anything in 30 years. They're going to find themselves rooting for the Cowboys because the Chiefs are just, let's be real here about America's team. America's team, in my opinion, is how many fans you have across the country.
Sure.
Like when you go somewhere, like there's Chiefs fans there. But in terms of like America's team of we're rooting for you, It's never been Dallas, and it's never been Kansas City. Like, to me, maybe it's America's sweetheart is what I'm looking for here. Detroit, America's sweetheart last year.
Yeah.
Everybody was rooting for Detroit, no matter who they were going up against. America's team is, you go to New York, do you see a Chiefs jersey there? You probably do now. So it will be that old school versus new school. But if you're asking me if people are going to put their Dallas hatred aside and root for them against Kansas City, I will tell you they absolutely will. They're not going to put their hatred aside for Kansas City. They are by far the most hated team in the NFL, and we all know that. And that's you embrace it. You embrace the hate.
You have to embrace the hate. You have to. You need to embrace the villainous aspect that is now the Kansas City Chiefs. I do say that Vanna White needs to go, and for America's game, America's team, you have to have a sign pulled up. You see the S get pulled up, right? Then you get to the S, both names in with an S, both 6 letters. You could do it. Chiefs, Dallas. I'm on to something here. Vanna White, GSN. Throw me something here.
As I've always said, there's 2 America's teams throughout every era of NFL history. There's the one that says they are and that took the original moniker when the NFL, or I can't remember who the marketing team was, that presented it to the Steelers.
I would say the Steelers were the
in
original.
the 70s, and they declined it, to which the Cowboys then took it, which was the next best team of that era. So there's always 2. There's the one that took the moniker and the one that wins enough to where you're either hated or loved by either the bandwagon fans or the ones that aren't watching the game and hate your team.
So then you would
the
agree
Patriots,
the Chiefs are America's team. Okay.
They're the winning side. They're the hated evil empire America's team.
Then which one? Is Dallas still trying to hold on to that moniker is what you're saying?
They are. But they can also be, they're the only team that can be both. Like in the 90s, they were also hated, and then they were also the most popular team.
It's Nebraska football. Yeah. It's Indiana basketball.
See, I feel it's a really good comparison, too, when you think about Nebraska. Like, if Nebraska had a game against, let's try to think, maybe Alabama. Let's throw Alabama in there. Like, Nebraska and Alabama, and you put that game in Lincoln.
And it matters.
Ratings,
like
Ratings go through the roof. That's how it feels to this. You've got the team that was the team of the 90s, and it's in Dallas. That's another part to this. The fact it's in Dallas makes it so much better for this matchup. It's going to be phenomenal.
Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's get into some other matchups. The AFC West, the bye week. Looks like we're getting more coming down the line. Again, this is the NFL schedule release show right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Again, huge shout out to the Bobside Auto Group as well as Quad Power Products. Come back. Sports Radio 810 WHB. special right here, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. Once again, shout out to the Bobside Auto Group. One name, 4 locations, the Bobside Auto Group. Trust is our tradition. And Quad Power Products, providing top-notch hydraulic repair services for over 30 years. Westwood One takes over from 7 to 9 with Scott, Graham, and Ross Tucker as they will break down the rest of the schedules. But it looks like we have better confirmation of
sources confirm, as they would say.
Sources confirming, so a matching up, if you will, of confirmation now in regards to the schedule release. Jack, what do you have?
All right, let's try this again. Week 1, and this was just confirmed by Adam Schefter and the Chiefs' official account. It'll be the Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil Friday night, September 5th, and will be on YouTube. So that's week 1. Week 2, a rematch of the Super Bowl and the opener at Arrowhead. The Philadelphia Eagles will come to town. That's September 14th, so 9 days off between that Brazil game and the home opener. They will then play a primetime game against the Giants in week 3. That'll be New York's home opener. They will come back home to take on the Ravens. That will be a normal 3:25 kickoff. Then they will have a primetime matchup week 5 against Jacksonville. Week 6, this will be the first of 3 straight at home. You'll have the Lions, a primetime game October 12th. You will then have the Raiders October 19th, and you will have the Commanders, another primetime matchup October 27th. Then week 9, the Chiefs will return to Orchard Park to take on the Bills. That'll be November 2nd. Bye week will be week 10, and then right after the bye week, they'll have the Broncos on the road for week 11. That'll be November 16th. The Colts will come to Arrowhead November 23rd. Then the Thanksgiving Day game that we talked about, Dallas, will be November 27th at Jerry's World. Week 14 and 15 both at home. That'll be the Texans and the Chargers. Want to say that Houston game, too, is a primetime matchup.
Yeah, looking like Sunday Night Football is what I am seeing right now for the Texans week 14.
Not sure that the Chargers are anything special. I believe that's 325. Tennessee is their second-to-last road game of the year. They have the Christmas Day game and the last regular season game at Arrowhead. That'll be against the Broncos, and they will wrap up the 2025 regular season in Vegas against the Raiders.
Yeah, so let's go with initial takeaways right here. Again, bye week, week 10. I think a lot of folks have been wondering about that. I think initially, as reported, week 8. Looks like now it's week 10 is the bye week. Yep. Last year, I believe, was it week 6, if I'm not mistaken?
So early.
It was extremely early. That was a big talking point, especially as later on in the year the Chiefs had those 3 games in 10 or 11 days, however you wanted to break that down. But looking like 9 games, bye week, then finish up with 8 about halfway through. I think my biggest takeaway is that the season gets a lot easier after the bye.
It does.
I know the Broncos are going to be a lot better, and the Chiefs play them twice after the bye. I know that the AFC West as a whole is going to be, I think, a lot better than people might realize. I get the Chargers, the Broncos. Those will be the names that people look at. I think the Raiders are taking a massive step forward. Will the Raiders be good? No, but I think the Raiders will be back to respectability and at least some sort of competency. I think the answer, in my opinion, is yes. But again, I think the second half of this season post-bye is a lot easier than the first. Jack, your big takeaway?
Yeah, number 1, I love the fact the home opener is Philadelphia. And we talked about this on The Zone Monday, maybe it was Monday or Tuesday, that if you were going to have the Super Bowl rematch, you might as well do it early on in the season. Because if you get too far down the road, you're not saying, oh, Super Bowl rematch, everything's still fresh. No, I would say that if you waited till week 13 or 14, you're already focused on 2025 and who's going to win the Super Bowl that year. This is perfect to come back from Brazil. You got 9 days in between. Philadelphia will have their season opener the day before Chiefs and Chargers against the Cowboys, so they'll have 10 total days of rest there. And you're going to have Arrowhead Stadium as hostile as it will probably be all season long because it's still warm enough, right? People aren't bundled up. This will rival like that Monday night game against New England when they had set the record. Like that, to me, is the type of atmosphere you're going to see against Philadelphia because that's still so fresh. of the Super Bowl. It's been months, but if we're talking about NFL games,
Yeah.
that'll be one game in between the last time they saw each other. I believe it'll be hostile as hell.
I do like the thought process, and you're right, of the Super Bowl rematch being earlier in the season versus later in the year. And also, you're hoping that most of your players are healthy at this point, too, so you see the best of the best. And I think you're right. The Eagles are easily hated. Because it's not really like San Fran, when it felt like San Fran and the Chiefs were going back and forth. Because who did you hate? Jimmy G for what? Being good-looking? What did you hate? Shanahan? He's not really a hateable coach. The San Francisco 49ers, in my opinion, weren't super hateable.
They weren't.
You didn't like them because you kept playing them in big games, but the Chiefs also kept beating them.
The
in
fan
these
bases
big
just
games.
bickered. That's what it was. They just bickered back and forth.
Yes, but and like the Bengals and the Bills, that's also AFC. The Eagles are a team in the
This is a good
NFC where the fan bases don't love each other. There was a little bit of respectability when Andy Reid came to KC and the Eagles were high on him. But once the Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl, it felt like it was like, all right, we're no longer Team Andy. That's past. We're no longer even claiming him as part of us. We've moved on. And then you have Nick Sirianni and the whole in the tunnel, and he's just so unlikable. I know Saquon's likable. Jalen Hurts is likable. I actually think a lot of the players on the Eagles are likable, but it's their fan base coupled with their head coach and the constant putting Howie Roseman almost on this silver platter so far ahead of Brett Veach. And we're sitting here in Kansas City going, yeah, but who's had more consistency? It's not like the Chiefs had the chance to draft and pick a guy top 10 like Jalen Carter and the Eagles were. Chiefs didn't have that opportunity because they're continuously winning. And they didn't choke in the playoffs as they limped to the finish line 2 seasons ago, and the whole thought was Nick Sirianni might get canned.
Got belted by Baker and the Bucks.
And so I'm sitting here going, you're right, man. This week 2 matchup, there is some hatred here. This is a rivalry. Almost to an extent now. I know as much as an AFC and NFC one can be. That's no longer Chiefs Rams if you're in the same state. I like that call, Jack, and I like that it's early.
These are 2 teams, 2 fan bases that may be better than anybody else in the league embrace being hated. Philadelphia is known for years. They embraced being hated. They embraced being the villain. The Chiefs are now doing that.
Yeah.
And to me, when they truly put on the black robe, if you will, was the AFC title game in Baltimore, where Travis Kelce's taking Justin Tucker's kicking tee and throwing it.
Yeah.
And it was just that we don't care. We're going to be the villains in this game, and we know everybody's rooting for Baltimore. Philadelphia is the exact same way. Like Washington coming into Philly for the NFC Championship game, America's darling, America's sweetheart, and they destroyed them. And then they went on to destroy the Chiefs, which is why there's more venom to this game.
Yes.
There is a lot of venom. If the Eagles would have won in a nail-biter, 38-35, in the same way the first matchup was in the Super Bowl, it's going to be venomous. But it's the fact of what happened the first time in the regular season meeting, Nick Sirianni yelling to the Chiefs fans, then this Super Bowl. Like, it's going to be a hostile, angry, drunk crowd. Not that stopped anybody before for the noon games, but we're talking about a prime time, or I should say an afternoon slate, the 3:25 prime time
extra
slate.
hours.
Fox, that is the perfect home opener. That's my favorite game.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's an easy pick to go with before the bye week.
Well, and let's be clear. If the Chiefs win this game, it doesn't make up for the loss in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely not.
And we've talked about it with New England. We've talked about it with, we said it to the Bengals all the time, where congrats, you won that one in the playoffs, but what happened, the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but they can't do it in the playoffs. Doesn't mean anything. It matters a little bit as far as just some pride, but it doesn't mean that if the Chiefs win this game, that all is forgiven from the Super Bowl beatdown, but it's at least a step in the right direction. And by the way, there has been a shift. As a man who lived in Philly for multiple years, I remember wearing my Chiefs jersey, my Chiefs stuff. Everyone loved it. Everyone talked about it. I remember my Priest Holmes jersey. Oh, Andy this and all the... You know what? We actually love Kansas City. We love all the fans.
The lovable losers.
And the second that the Chiefs beat the Eagles in that Super Bowl, it
changes.
all shifted. And so I will always remember the Chiefs went from being loved by Philly to now this is a legit rivalry. Dylan, I want to get your thoughts on this. We gave ours. What was your biggest takeaway on the schedule release so far?
I think you guys nailed. I mean, going against the Eagles as your home opener, because you are playing in Brazil against what usually is our home opener, which is the Chargers or theirs, which we rarely ever go to a division rival. I can't remember the last time that we started the season at a division rival.
Yeah.
I like the middle of the season, the mid-season bye. Like, that is massive because we haven't really needed it the past couple seasons to make it to the Super Bowl, but now that we have it, it's going to be an interesting addition to that schedule, I would imagine.
So let's take a break because when I come back, I want to give us enough time. I want to go through the most underrated matchup and the most overrated matchup that we have seen on the schedule. We'll have Jack break it down yet again as the schedule is being released right here, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Yet again, shout out to the Bobside Auto Group as well as Quad Power Products. We'll be right back. Sports Radio 810 WHB. HB, the NFL schedule release special. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. Again, huge shout out to the Bobside Auto Group. One name, 4 locations. The Bobside Auto Group. Trust is our tradition. And Quad Power Products, providing top-notch hydraulic repair services for over 30 years. Westwood One takes over from 7 to 9 with Scott Graham and Ross Tucker. All right, let's get into it. Most underrated as well as most overrated matchup. Which one are we looking at for most? Let's go overrated first. Jack, most overrated matchup on the board.
Oh, man. I would never pick the Bills game to be overrated. I can't. It's such a good game all the time. But I almost would think the meaning of it is just losing its power because it's been this copy-paste every single year. The Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season, and the Chiefs beat the Bills in the postseason. Still, it's such a fun matchup when you have those two great quarterbacks. In my opinion, the most overrated matchup might be Houston. Houston's not one that I'm like. If last year it was a great, fun game on the schedule. You looked at C.J. Stroud, what they'd done the year before, but I'm expecting Houston to take a little bit of a step back. I still expect them to likely win the South, but to me, that's one that just sort of falls on the back half of the schedule. I believe it's a bit overrated. There was some fan rivalry between Chiefs fans and Texans fans and the players blaming the officials for losing in the divisional round. So I would say that there's nothing there. There's no ill will toward Houston. It feels like one of those games you want to try to pump up, prime time slot, and then it will just be a normal game. So that'd be my pick.
Dylan, I'll let you go next. What do you think is the most overrated game on the schedule for KC?
I'm going to go Chiefs-Eagles.
Oh!
Wow.
Because of what you said. It's not changing the result of the game we really care about. And even if we win by 40 points, after it, we'll say, damn. Wow, we really wish we could have put that performance together. I mean, that's exactly what will happen.
That's honestly, Dylan, that's perfect.
So I'm going Eagles.
Overrated in the sense that it won't change anything. I think the fans will be rowdy. Not overrated, maybe even the game itself. But Dylan, I think that's a really good call. I liked your thought process on the Bills as well. I'll bring up an interesting one here because I think the Eagles is probably the right choice. What about Washington? I think Washington takes a slight step back this year.
Man,
I think they do what Houston did, where they jumped into the scene with a rookie quarterback early on, and everyone's like, well, look at the pieces. Because I was also hyping up the Texans offseason. I think most people were going into last year. I think everyone's hyping up Washington's offseason. I think it's good, too. Mm-hmm. I'm not disagreeing. Laramie Tunsil's going to help a lot on that left side. They drafted a right tackle, obviously, in Connerly. They're getting some weapons for Jaden Daniels. I love what they're doing. But didn't the Texans do the exact same thing? The issue is not really an issue. No, it is an issue. Because the Texans, they were playing a last-place schedule. They had the rookie quarterback, shot onto the scene. Things went their way. You got to beat the teams that are on your schedule, but an easier schedule, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened last year when they played a one schedule? It ain't as easy. What happened to Washington a couple years ago? I guess last year. They had an easy schedule. Not easy in the regard that they didn't have to play the Eagles or the Cowboys or some of these teams.
They won the division, right? It was the COVID year.
Yeah, 100%. But they weren't playing the one schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing it this year, or at least No, they'd play the two schedule still.
Yeah, the two.
But whatever it is, their schedule is a lot more difficult when you look at it. Washington's this year versus last year. They don't have any rollover games. So I actually expect a step back from Washington this year. I don't think they're bad.
Yeah.
But I think that might be a little overhyped because I think Washington will be a slightly overhyped team.
I'll throw in an extra one here, and I also want to bring up an interesting stat from our very own Curtis Seabolt because it was something Dylan was talking about. He couldn't remember the last time they'd opened up against a division opponent in the AFC
Holmes'
West.
First year starting, wasn't it?
There you go. This is 8 times that it has happened. So you have the Chargers back in 2018, Denver in 2004 on the road there, Denver on the road in 97, on the road against, looks like, Seattle in 95, on the road against the Chargers in 92, on the road against Denver in 89, on the road against Denver in 75, and on the road against the Chargers in 71. So those are all the times together there. So it'll be the 9th time that's happened. The reason I say this, too, I'm never high on the Chargers matchups. I'm really not. I'm really not. That might be my hot take. I believe it's a bit overrated in Brazil as well. My underrated matchup, I hate that you picked Washington as the overrated one.
You can take it.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fall into that trap there. My favorite, that first matchup against Denver in Mile High. I want to see an actual good Denver team, a good Chiefs team, with all the starters out there playing at Mile High, the altitude, the sold-out atmosphere, rivalries back. That's my underrated game.
I like that. Mine's, I'll do the same, but I'll do Christmas. Again, I don't like the Christmas
Damn,
game.
Sterling,
I
damn.
told you my thoughts on the Christmas game itself, but as far as on the field matchup, and I think there's some implications in this one as well. I think the Chiefs will probably have the AFC West locked, but I think Denver will be playing for a playoff spot Week 17. Right? That's going to be
That's my guess.
That's going to be a tough one because I think the Raiders will be solid. I think Denver, good. Chargers, good. And the AFC as a whole, there's going to be a lot of fighting for that 5, 6, and 7 spot. I like this. I like the schedule.
I'm a fan. This is a
Week
fun
10,
schedule.
baby. Week 10. This right here was the NFL special right here. Schedule release coming up your way next. Westwood One's special coverage with Scott Graham and Ross Tucker. Again, shout out to the Bobside Auto Group and Quad Power Products. For Jack, for Dylan, I am Sterling. We are out.